Mediokr at Best Podcast, Realistic Randy. Thank you for watching and listening. We definitely appreciate the support that you've been showing thus far. Real quick, so we didn't do a podcast last week. I was out in Hawaii. I was out on vacation. And I thought about actually bringing the equipment to record out there. I figured it would be kind of cool. But ultimately, I was having a good time. I was like, let me take the week off. And now we're back. So real quick, I know we're going to talk about Sam Bradford. But real quick, I wanted to give kudos to the offensive line, at least for week one. They did a very good job. And I understand that they played the New Orleans Saints. Well, you know what? The Green Bay Packers are a terrible defense as well. And in week one, the Seattle Seahawks, they played the Green Bay Packers. And they made the Green Bay Packers defensive line look like a bunch of prime Jared Allens going after Russell Wilson. So the Minnesota Vikings offensive line did what they had to do against that New Orleans Saints defense. Now, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a whole different story. They didn't do a good job. That's an understatement. But I'm not going to get on them too bad because I think Case Keenum brought a lot of pressure on himself. He held on to the ball for too long. But all those holding calls, that was absolutely ridiculous. But I've been very critical of the offensive line this entire offseason and last season for the most part, saying they need to get it together. But they did a good job in week one. I think in week two, as the game, they started off pretty good against the Steelers, in my opinion. And then as the game, went on, I think they realized they were going to lose, and they just they got lackadaisical and lazy, whatever you want to call it. But those penalties, those were absolutely ridiculous. So we'll have to see how it goes moving forward with the offensive line. So I wanted to at least give them a little bit of a bone and just say, hey, good job for at least, being average at best between these last 1 and 2 weeks. So Sam Bradford. Now, isn't this the most Vikings thing ever? Where we just can't have nice things. The worst things, just the worst luck seems to happen to this franchise. Sam Bradford, who's had multiple ACL injuries, multiple ACL surgeries. He's been hurt a lot in his career. All of last year, Minnesota Vikings had the worst offensive line in the National Football League, at least in my opinion. He made it through the entire season without missing a game, at least starting in week two, because week one he was there, but he needed a week to get up to speed and what have you. But starting from week 2 to week 17, he was there the entire season. The worst offensive line, he got beat up, but he stayed there that entire season. And then what do you know? Fast forward to week 1 of this season against the New Orleans Saints, where at least as far as being a Vikings quarterback is concerned, he had the best protection of his life. He may have got hit, 1 or 2 times. Mike Remmers, I believe, gave up a sack. But he had the best protection of his life. And what do you know? Sam Bradford is hurt. So while I was out in Hawaii, I saw that the injury report came out and it said Sam Bradford, he's questionable. And I partly blame myself, not for Sam Bradford being hurt, but for being surprised by this. Because initially I wasn't surprised, or as far as him being out, because whenever I see a questionable injury report, like if an injury report comes out and they say, oh, he's questionable, I always consider that like a fake injury because I'm just guesstimating here. Maybe about 75 to 80% of the times, whenever anyone's listed as questionable, they always end up playing. So I'm like, it's precaution. He'll be fine. Not a big deal. Then as the days progress, as the week progressed, it was like, oh, no, you guys should actually be concerned. Judd Zolgad at 1500 ESPN wrote a column about it. And Adam Schefter tweeted out, I believe on Saturday, that, hey, Sam Bradford is going to be a legit game time decision. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Where I said, hey, this offensive line is the one thing that determines if this team goes from what I predicted before the season started, 7-9 and 9-7, somewhere in between there, to possibly making a run in the playoffs. He had the best protection of his life in week 1, did a fantastic job, did a great job, and what do you know? He's a game time decision now. And I'm sitting here saying, now fast forward to week 2, we lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Case Keenum was out there. He's a second string quarterback, but he looked like he wasn't really prepared. I know he said I was prepared for this game, and if that's what you consider prepared, then we're in a world of trouble. But if you follow me on Facebook, I posted this on Facebook, and before I get into this, I'm an opinion guy. You're not going to necessarily agree with everything I say. There's a lot of podcasts that I listen to that I don't necessarily agree with, but I like their product, and the same as you guys. You guys probably have a lot of podcasts, different sports podcasts, or even general podcasts that you listen to that you may not necessarily agree with 100% of the time, but for whatever reason, you like their product, you like their presentation. Okay, fine. I posted this out on Facebook.com/realisticrandy after the Steelers game. I said, look, if this is a lingering issue for Sam Bradford, like if he's going to have to miss some time, if I was the Minnesota Vikings, I would look at Colin Kaepernick for at least a workout. Now, here's the thing. Whether you hate Colin Kaepernick or not, that's your right. If you want to hate Colin Kaepernick, hate Colin Kaepernick. I'm not here to tell you, you should actually appreciate what he's doing because of this or that. If you hate him, that's your absolute right. That's fine. You can believe whatever it is you want. Where we part ways is because when I posted that out saying, hey, they should probably look at Colin Kaepernick for at least a workout, I had some people telling me I'd rather go 1-15 than bringing Colin Kaepernick. And I'm like, that is where we part ways on that because I still wanted to see this team win. I still want to see this team win. And forgive me if I'm being a little precautious here. I know on Wednesday that Sam Bradford finally came out and talked and said, I believe, I'm paraphrasing, but I planted my foot wrong in that Saints game. So it's essentially a non-contact injury and on the same leg that he's had multiple surgeries on. So forgive me if I'm a little bit precautious about that. In the Minnesota Vikings official Twitter feed, they came out and said that Case Keenum and Sam Bradford are both preparing to start for week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. This is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not trying to ride the coattails of Case Keenum. I'm not trying to see that garbage out there anymore. And look, he could be a good guy. That's all well and good. That's fantastic. We're talking about in terms of football. And for those that are saying, I won't watch anymore or I'd rather go 1-15, that's your business. I still want to see this team win. And in case you guys didn't know, we also brought in Tremaine Brock, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, which really they're in Santa Clara, but okay. Tremaine Brock, formerly of the 49ers, previously charged with domestic violence. Charges were dropped against him because the alleged victim refused to cooperate with law enforcement. We drafted Dalvin Cook, who has a very checkered past, including being cited by animal control for mistreatment of puppies. But we were cheering him the last 2 weeks, including myself. Part of being a football fan is being able to compartmentalize, but like, you know what? They're doing what they're doing. It may be terrible, but man, it's the football team. Does that make us bad people? I don't know, but I'm just giving you facts. Then we talk about Michael Floyd, who's not going to be available. He's suspended for the first 4 games of the season. Got his second DUI charge last December, putting people's lives in danger by getting behind the wheel nearly 3 times the legal limit of the blood alcohol legal limit in Arizona, and we signed him in May, and then violated his house arrest by saying, he tested positive for alcohol because of kombucha tea, and the Vikings were front and center. So there's all these people that have checkered past, but okay, we're going to be mad about that. Then if you're Rick Spielman, I'm sorry. What do you have to lose? Seriously, I would think that he would exercise a little bit of self-awareness saying, hey, you know what? I haven't, as far as me being the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, we haven't won a playoff game. My job may be on the line, which I believe it really, really is. If this team falls apart, I think he should be fired. But what do you have to lose? Because if you should be out there trying to put the best product out on the field. And if you're the Wilf brothers, and if it comes down to the owners of the Minnesota Vikings, the Wilf brothers, Mark and Ziggy Wilf, and you're like, absolutely not, and you're comfortable with Case Keenum, Jim Suhan of the Star Tribune posted a column basically saying, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, you can find it on the Star Tribune. He basically said, look, his whole idea, his take was the Minnesota Vikings, they should have went after Colin Kaepernick during the offseason for it to be a viable backup quarterback. I was never on that train. I've always said that Colin Kaepernick deserves to be in the NFL, not for some feel-good story. As far as, we believe in you, let's give him a chance because, the stance he's taking, he should automatically be given a chance. I'm talking about in terms of football because you got dudes like Blake Bortles and Josh McCown and Brian Hoyer, who are still starting quarterbacks in the league. That's exactly why. And Colin Kaepernick is better than all those chumps. So don't get me started on that. But I never thought, he should go to the Minnesota Vikings because I'm like, we got Sam Bradford. It's all good. We cool. Don't worry about it. But desperate times calls for desperate measures. Again, we are talking about football. And I know that Sam Bradford's like, I feel optimistic. My knee feels a little bit better. Maybe I can come back. I'm hopeful to play in Tampa Bay. But excuse me if I'm a little bit precautious in this because Aditi, I hope I'm saying this reporter's name right, of NFL Network. Aditi Kinkhabwala of NFL Network tweeted out. She quoted Ian Rappaport's tweet saying Sam Bradford, the status of Sam Bradford, this talk about the status for Steelers game week 2 last week. The status of Vikings quarterback Sam Bradford to be decided after a pregame workout, sources said. Good news, his ACL and ligaments are intact. Aditi Kinkhabwala tweeted out, quoted that and said, Vikings starting quarterback has told folks he expects to play in that Steelers game. And what do you know? He didn't play. So him saying, oh, my knee feels a little bit better, we'll just have to see. Sorry if I'm a little bit precautious on a dude that suffered a non-contact injury, according to him, according to the dude himself, and saying, oh, we'll just see. My knee feels a little bit better, so we'll just have to go from there. We'll see. I'm hopeful to play in the Tampa Bay game. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit precautious of that. But if this is going to be a long-term thing, and it's a lingering issue, then you should look at Colin Kaepernick for at least a workout. Because here's the deal. Everyone's saying, I don't care if this team goes 1-15. I am not going down that ship with you. I want to see this team win, all right? 2001, I watched this team lose in an NFC Championship game 41-0 against the New York Giants, all right? I saw this team in 2003 start off 6-0 and finish the season 9-7, barely missed the playoffs after giving up a game-ending touchdown on 4th and freaking 25 to the Arizona Cardinals. I saw this team in the 2010 or the NFC Championship game for the 2009 season. I watched a team of referees turn their backs on Brett Favre, who was getting absolutely destroyed out there long after he was throwing the ball away, late hit after late hit, in an era of football where if you give Tom Brady a handshake and say, hey, good job, that's a 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness of the quarterback. I watched this team 2.5 years ago forfeit a promising season because one of the highest paid kickers in the league went wide left on a 27-yard chip shot field goal. And don't get me started on last year where you started 5-0 and then finished 8-8. You have a defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Most of them are in their prime or at least tapping into their prime. You got special weapons including Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen out there. Look, you need to do whatever you can to make this team win and give them the best chance of winning. That's what I'm all about, winning football games. This isn't about what side are you on with Colin Kaepernick. This isn't about can Colin Kaepernick take the Minnesota Vikings to the Super Bowl. This is the simple question is, if Sam Bradford is out for a long period of time and you need to wait for Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater for that matter to come back, does Colin Kaepernick give this team a better chance to stay afloat over Case freaking Keenum? And the answer to that question is yes. What are we talking about here? I'm not trying to go down this ship where, to hell with that. I want to see this team win. I'm sick of seeing stupid stuff happen year after year after year where they're not terrible, they're not great. Something just gets in the way. And we have a team that can possibly win, depending on if this offensive line can stand up or not. We have a team that could possibly do something if the O-line can stand up. I just want to see that. And if you're going to lose straight up. That's all I'm saying. Don't forfeit a damn season just because after all these players we let in, all these players across the league we let play, we give them second and third chances. Alden Smith, Greg Hardy, we for real? Marshawn Lynch. Last week, Marshawn Lynch, he sat during the national anthem, and then 2.5 hours later, he had the whole Coliseum dancing in a concert. Are we for real right now? Come on. You need to give this team the best chance to win. But hey, if Sam Bradford can come back, then hey, it is what it is. But I am concerned, and forgive me if I'm a little bit precautious about a dude who has a non-contact injury right now on the same knee that he's had multiple surgeries on. So we'll have to see. That's my take on it. It is what it is. I just want to see this team win. We do this once a week. Mediokr at Best Podcast. This is a Blue Vision Entertainment production. We'll see you next week.
The blood, the sweat, the pain, the game remain the same. The fame can change my lane, my way, my name is Trey. I made a way in a maze.